Hello everybody, how is it going? Welcome to the Wrestling Multiverse channel. Here, welcome to a new thing we're going to be doing here, the Wrestling Multiverse pay-per-view review slash podcast. Reason I'm calling it a podcast because you ain't going to see any footage of the event, or you ain't going to see any footage of me in this. But I'm just going to tell you what's happened, what's gone down at the pay-per-view that we'll be reviewing and stuff like that. We are reviewing Armageddon 2004. In the Gwinnett Center, I think I said that right, in Atlanta, Georgia, 15,000 people in attendance. It's a very interesting time, December, because this is just before the Rumble, so this is just before the build to, they start to build John Cena and Batista up to the main event. Their main event matches at WrestleMania. It's just before that, so it's just their little kind of cool-off period, and you could tell that with some of the matches. They're just kind of holding on, waiting for that time, waiting for the Rumble. And they're just trying to put the pieces in place to get to that point. 15,000 people, as I said, in attendance. There might be more or less. I just went by what I could gather by either listening to commentary and information I got. The first match on the show is Kenzo Suzuki and Rene Dupree taking on the tag team champions Rob Van Dam and Rey Mysterio for the tag titles. RVD and Rey won the tag titles on a recent episode of SmackDown due to some cagey cheating shenanigans, but I mean, I guess it was to get back at them. I never understood why they won in cheating circumstances like that. Like, it's weird for two babyfaces to be doing that, but I guess it's what they thought was best. I guess it's just kind of whatever they chose to do, I guess. Anyways, next, so we start off, and Kendo and RVD some mat wrestling, but it quickly goes into strikes real quickly. And I just want to point this out. Like, I'll get more into it at the end of the match, but I'm just gonna point this out. I never understood Kenzo Suzuki and Rene Dupree as a tag team. It just never seemed right. It never looked right. Nothing about it worked for me. It's just an odd team. It's like it's part of that scenario where you don't know what to do with two guys. You just throw them as a tag team, and it just doesn't work. But during the match, Rey Mysterio and Rob Van Dam hit a monkey flip drop kick combo that gets a 2 count. Sorry, I'm not the best. This is kind of my first one. I'll hopefully get into a better groove of doing this as it goes on. Rey Mysterio is in for the hot tag, but it quickly shut down with a double team move. What I mean by a double team move is Hiroko goes up on the gets on the apron, distracts the referee. Which, by the way, this is a really quick hot tag. Like, this is the quickest I've ever seen a hot tag shut. I think he gets one move in, Rey does, and then it's just quickly shut out. And they do like a elevated stunner type double team move thing. It's hard to describe on the ropes, but that's how they take him out. But after that, Tori Wilson runs out and attack Hiroku to even the odds. I guess they must have had a confrontation on SmackDown, I think, before, is what I heard by the commentators. So that got, now the odds are even. Kenzo so Renee and them are beating down Rey. Renee does the Rene Dupree dance. Everybody knows the Rene Dupree dance. But Kenzo is doing it on the apron, but when he's doing it with, like, no facial expression change. He's doing it with the most stone-faced expression I think I've ever heard. And because he's doing it so stone-faced and so expressionless, it made me laugh so dang hard. And I'm really glad I got to see that, because it's really fun. I don't know if it's meant to be as funny. It might just be because it's me that I find it funny, but I just found it really, 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 really funny. So, I guess that just tells you the whole dang story there. Rey and RVD hit a Rolling Thunder leg drop combo, but Kenzo ends up to break up the pin. The match ends when Rey hits a 619 on both men, followed by a frog splash from RVD, 2 and Rene Dupree to retain the tag titles. Out of 10, I gave it 7 out of 10. I think it's a really good tag match. it might be the best match of the whole show. Like, it's stuck between that and the main event, which I'll get to but it's really good match. Despite the fact that I still will I really don't get them two as a team, Kenzo and Renee Dupree, but it's weird. Yeah, it's just a weird team. The fact that they were tag champs at all shocked me. I guess it literally just shows like the lack of tag division they really had at SmackDown at that time. They had like the Basham Bros. I think was like the only actual tag team there, and everyone else just kind of thrown together. If you look at it, it's kind of like the issue people have with the tag division now, which all just a bunch of thrown together teams. It's way worse in 2004. It's way worse in like SmackDown 2004. Because in fact, like there's 2 tag matches, and both of them are mainly thrown together teams, except for the Bashams. So we can't act like that's a new thing though. So Kurt Angle comes out next. Kurt Angle, he decides he wants to give the fans here in Atlanta a special Kurt Angle Gold Medal Invitational. He for a warm up for his 3-on-1 handicap match that happened on the same night against the Big Show. Kurt Angle decides he says his opponent is a hero to all. He takes his craft very seriously, and he brings out a guy dressed up as Santa. Kurt just goes on berating Santa about how his daughter, how Kurt works so hard just to be able to see his daughter, but all his daughter wants to do is write to Santa, even though you only do that close to once a year if you're a kid, so I don't know why. Anyways, Kurt says that Santa gives real heroes a fake name. Pretty much calls him a fake hero. Says he gives real heroes a bad rep. And then the match goes on. It's like just a quick squash thing. Kurt Angle hits the angle slam, then hits the ankle lock. Santa immediately taps out Michael Cole. Reacts like Kurt Angle just committed the ultimate crime of the century because he tapped out Santa Claus. I mean, you could take that as you will. Really, this is where my thing is, where I'm trying to give my opinion, but I'm not trying to be too much of a dick. But I guess since I have to give my full opinion, this didn't need to be here. I don't know what the point of it was. If it was make people boo him, it didn't work. And here's the issue you'll see with this, and it'll be like with most of the show, the crowd just does not care about anything going on. It is dead most of the show. It is not a loud crowd. The crowd is not into really anything. It's just they're not into really anything except for like the main event and the opening match. They're not into anything else. The match rating out of 10, I gave it 1 out of 10. At least it was a match. I guess. It made Kurt, I guess, look good going into the 3-on-1 handicap match. But it just felt, it was just not, it didn't need to be there though. The next match is it's labeled a Dixie Dogfight. It's pretty much a boxing match between The Miz, or Mike Mizanin, as they're calling him, taking on Daniel Puder. It's clearly a worked boxing thing. Like, no one's really trying to knock each other out here. Mainly because I think if they actually did anyone try to try out Daniel Puder, probably knock out Miz in about really quick fashion. But the problem is, again, like I said, the audience is dead the entire time. But I'm also going to get into something else. So, they do promos before here for the Miz and Puder. They both do promos building this thing up. And the Miz, if you look at the Miz promo-wise, my God, has he changed. Miz promo here is horrible. Both of them are so bad at promos. But Miz is just insane. Like, he tries even after the fight to promote the the day you're supposed to vote for the determine a winner, and he gets the date wrong. Because he says go do it tomorrow, and then realizes that he has to do it on Thursday for the SmackDown, so then he just cracks himself, and it makes him look so weird. It's so weird. And yeah, it just is a really bad thing. It's insane to think how much he's changed promo-wise, where he's like the best promo guy on the entire roster, I would say. Like, if he truly, if they just let him involved in promos and not do the comedy shtick with Morrison, he'd be on fire every single time. But the match goes to 3 rounds. Nobody's knocked out. Pewter is declared the winners by fans' ovation. Although, the part made me laugh was Michael Cole. So they do the fan ovation, and Miz gets barely a reaction, and Pewter at least gets a louder reaction than Miz. But the moment all you hear is Michael go, well, it sounds like a tie. And I'm like, no. And in my head, I was like, no, it's not Michael. I didn't give it a match rating because it wasn't a match. It was like a boxing. It's supposed to be a attraction type thing. It's not. Nobody cares. Nobody's interested. It just doesn't work. But next we have one of my favorite segment of the entire show. Eddie Guerrero and Booker T are talking backstage. They go on about how they could beat each other in the Fatal 4-Way main event. They both laughed at the thought of each other one beating the other. And then they both say, Eddie points out that they need to focus on Undertaker, so they both agree that they're going to take out the Undertaker. But as they're talking, the Undertaker walks into the room, and the Undertaker stares both down. They both realize that they both go silent. Taker just walks on by, and all you hear is and Eddie and them are arguing. And my favorite part is Booker T just points at Eddie Guerrero and just goes, "He heard every word you said," and just walks out. And Eddie Guerrero just starts mumbling as he walks off. And I'm like, it made me laugh so hard. It was really, really funny. It's a really funny segment. Although the next match though is the Basham Brothers versus Hardcore Holly and Charlie Haas. I have no clue why this is a team. Was this a regular team? Like, anyone who's watched it on that time, was this a regular team? Hardcore Holly and Charlie Haas? Like, I have no memory of these two as a team at all. I can't imagine they must have teamed that off. It must have been a really short team if there was one. But, like, let me know. Was this an actual team? But anyways, Charlie starts off shoving the Basham before the match begins. He's pretty fired up because in fact he has to referee a match between Miss Jackie and Dawn Marie later in the show. The crowd is dead the entire match, as I pointed out before. Couldn't care less. But they go on to they just continue the match. Basham's win with a roll-up. After Dawn Marie and Miss Jackie start arguing at ringside, and Charlie is distracted. They roll up Hardcore Holly to win the match. The match rating out of 10, I gave it 4 out of 10. It's not a bad match, but again, it's one of those ones where it didn't need to be there. It really did nothing to the overall show. Also, Hardcore kind of berates. Hardcore kind of berates Charlie afterwards, which is really weird. Like, you're already building it as, hey, this guy has gone through a lot of shit, and then you just have Hardcore berate the guy. Next match is Jesus with Carlito versus John Cena for United States title. I think it was a street fight, is what it's labeled as. It never really is explained, but a bunch of weapons are used, so I'm going to guess so. Storyline is John Cena was kayfabe stabbed in a bar fight and punctured a kidney, and it's believed, but it's never confirmed. I remember this part where it's never confirmed, but it was always believed that Jesus did it, and that's just the crux of this match. Cena comes out with the worst looking spinner title I've ever seen. This US spinner title is shit. I know we all like the spinner WWE title, but I will live with that. I will take that on a milestone. I'll put that at the top of a pedestal compared to this thing. This thing is so fucking atrocious looking. It is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. It is completely ridiculous, and I hate the look of it so effing much. But the match stopped. Jesus hit Cena in the kidney with a kendo stick, but this fires Cena up, and then it's just a whole shit whooping on Jesus. See, after that kendo stick shot, Jesus never gets a single move on Cena. It's literally Cena beating the hell out of him the entire match. He busts him open. He hits him with so many weapon shots, so many headshots. It terrified me. It legitimately terrified me. Carlitos tries to get involved, but he can't get involved because he has a shoulder injury, and so he's pretty much useless the entire time. So it's just literally Cena beating up Jesus the entire time. Cena wins with the FU, and then he hits Carlito with his chain afterwards. I gave it 3 out of 10. It's not much of a match. It's literally just a complete beatdown. As a story of getting revenge, it makes sense, but it's just a hard to watch beatdown, to be honest. And it's really weird because Cena's the babyface. It makes him look hella good, but it just did nothing for Jesus. I felt so bad for him after this, like having to deal with that. I think he was not even he was gone not long after this too, so it's just even worse to look at that. Next matchup is Dawn Marie versus Miss Jackie with Charlie Haas, a special guest referee. Dawn Marie, it's literally a minute long. This is a minute long. It's literally a waste of time. I'm so pissed this was on here. Dawn Marie wins by roll-up. Charlie Haas then, they continue arguing. Charlie Haas then cuts a promo, revealing that he had an affair with Dawn Marie, which I guess was what the rumor started the whole rivalry, I'm going to guess. But he had an affair with Dawn Marie. He calls off the engagement with Miss Jackie. He goes to fake propose to Dawn, then calls her a slut. And here's the weird part, right? So the crowd boos Charlie for he had an affair. They boo him for the fact that he calls off the engagement, but then they cheer him and chant his name once he calls Dawn Marie a slut. This crowd makes no effing sense. I've never been more confused on my opinion on what to think of something than that last part, because it just so confused. I could not figure out why they were chanting his name, and he seemed to stay babyface by the end of it, and I'm like, what? Like, it's so confused to me. Yeah, I've never been so confused. I gave a rating 0 out of 10. It literally was not even a match. Like, it. I feel it's unfair though, because I gave Kurt and Santa Claus 1 out of 10, but at least that was done by at least a competent person who could do what he had to do. These two were just fumbling around, and then we got to the roll-up. So, I mean, I gave it 0 out of 10. You have an issue with it, get over it. It's my opinion, I guess. Next match is Big Show versus Kurt Angle, Luther Reigns, and Mark Jindrak in a 3-on-1 handicap match. During the build-up to this, Kurt Angle, Luther, and them have been targeting the Big Show. It became part of the thing where they hit him with a tranquilizer dart and shaved its head. Big Show has come for revenge, and it's leading to this match here. Angle and Jindrak both get thrown around by the Big Show until Luther Reigns takes them down. After that, they each take turns wearing down the Big Show, and it's a really bland match, but I guess compared to the stuff you've seen before, it's way more competent, I guess the way to put it. Big Show gets fired up, starts cleaning house, wrecking everyone. Big Show wins the match by hitting Luther Reigns with an F5, and that threw me off so much. I'm like, was that a thing they tried to get over? Big Show hitting an F5? I never remember him hitting an F5. This must be the only match he ever did. I have zero memory of the Big Show in an F5 except for this. I feel like it must have been a dig at Lesnar because he left early in the year. I feel it has to be. If not, I don't know why they just try to do it, because everyone knows what, like, the F5 for Lesnar, especially in 04. I don't know why you think you just switch it to another person and nobody would react. It just seems like a dumb move. But anyway, Big Show wins the match. I gave it 5 out of 10. It's a good match. At least gets the point across. It makes Big Show look like a dominant person for taking down those 3 guys. They make Luther Reigns look good because he's able to take down the Big Show when Angle and them couldn't. So it gets any check marks they need to get across. We see Funaki having an interview with himself. He interviews himself going into his cruiserweight title match before Spike Dudley interrupts him. Funaki then says he will be SmackDown's #1 cruiserweight champion. As we go to that match, Funaki versus Spike Dudley for the WWE cruiserweight title. Funaki starts off with a bunch of roll-up attempts, but they all get a 2 count. Spike and Funaki fire in the top rope. Spike sends Funaki face first onto the floor. And I've never cringed so hard. That has got to be the most brutalest thing I've ever seen. It looks so brutal. Right on Funaki for taking that move, because I damn sure wouldn't have. I was a wrestler, I can tell you that. But after that, Spike targets the midsection of Funaki. He almost wears down most of the match. Funaki gets back into it though, hits a bulldog for a 2 count. The finish happens when Spike goes for the Dudley Dog, but Funaki reverses into a roll-up to win the Cruiserweight title. I gave it 6 out of 10. Really good match. This might be biased because I'm a huge fan of Funaki. I like Funaki. I like everything. I like everything he does. I like the SmackDown #1 announcer thing. I've liked him as a wrestler. So I kind of dig this whole thing, and I got very happy when I saw him win this match here. I want to talk about one other thing though. They mentioned I think like Bubba Ray and Devon who are out with shoulder injuries, but if I remember correctly, we don't see them again until the build up to ECW One Night Stand. And then after that pay-per-view, they're gone. So I'm pretty sure, like, you barely see them again. Just in general in WWE after this. Like, until, like, which is insane to think. Like, not even knowing if you're there at that time, knowing that, like, the Dudleys aren't going to be around that much longer. I'm not sure how much longer. I don't think Spike's even around that much longer. I think he's going after that show, too, now I think about it. It's just so insane to think about. But now it's time for the main event as JBL defends the WWE title against Eddie Guerrero, Booker T, and The Undertaker in a 4-way matchup. Before Teddy Long had put the stipulation that if the cabinet get involved, JBL is stripped of the WWE title on the spot, so he's going in alone. You see the cabinet wish JBL luck, and you see him walk off as he gets farther away from them, and he gets more angrier and more angrier. And Michael Cole, the entire night, the entire show, is just salivating at the thought of JBL no longer being WWE champion. He just loves the thought of it. He gets giddy over the thought of it. It's insane. It's just hilarious. This is, by the way, this is without doubt. Now that I looked at this, after watching this is the best match on the entire show. Now that I thought, originally, as I thought, literally as I was doing this, I'm saying this now. I thought about it. No, I was like, no, the 4-way's way better than that opening tag match. But it's just because of the people in it. How can it not be? JBL beginning to trying to try picking his spots, but they end up ganging up on him. Booker and Eddie try to gang up on Undertaker, but it backfires because, he's so powerful in that. JBL goes to powerbomb Undertaker through the announce table, but Taker reverses it and backdrops him to the onto the floor. on the outside, which is very painful, and it sounded very painful. They end up going back and forth, and JBL ends up hitting a clothesline from hell onto Taker on the outside. It sounded brutal. If there's one thing I love about JBL, it's a damn clothesline. The man can hit some damn clotheslines. Jesus Christ. Booker T hits a scissors kick on Eddie in the ring, but gets a very too close 2 count. Like, really, I even double looked back to see if it was 3. It was really close. JBL powerbombs Booker on the announce table, but it doesn't break, so he elbow drops him to make sure it breaks. And that kind of made me laugh, because just the thought of it not breaking after the humongous powerbomb, and JBL was just like, "Don't, you're breaking," with an elbow drop. But then also JBL then gets lashed right through the Spanish announce table by the Undertaker. So that takes him out for a bit. Eddie tries to play possum on Taker, but Taker catches him in a chokeslam. Taker goes for the last ride. Eddie hits him with the WWE title and gets 2 frog splashes. But Taker kicks out and sits up, which shocked the hell out of me. Just mainly for the fact that I don't know anyone who's kicked out of 2 frog splashes from Eddie. Just overall, like, I can't even, especially back to back, like, and it wasn't even close. It was like the moment he hit 2, Taker's kicked out immediately and then sat up, and I'm just like, holy, like, that's hell of a build for them. Taker, Jesus Christ. He goes after Eddie, but Eddie hits him with a low blow and then rams a ladder that he grabbed earlier in the show into Taker's head. Eddie hits a frog splash off the top of the ladder onto the Undertaker, but just as about to get 3, JBL pulls the referee out of the ring, saving the match. They keep going, and Taker ends up hitting all 3 guys with a chokeslam. He goes to Tombstone JBL, but Heidenreich, back from the insane asylum, I think it's what he was built from, where he was like last at. He just got out of it 2 days before this event. He's back, and he goes straight after Taker, dragging him out, choking him out, making sure he is not a part of the match. JBL tries to pin both Eddie and Booker, but they kick out. JBL then hits a clothesline from hell on the Booker T to get the pin and retain the WWE title. I'm giving it 9 out of 10. What a main event. 4 amazing guys, all putting their best into it, making sure this is one hell of a main event. The crowd is into this entire thing, and it's good that this match woke them up completely. This was the match they were saving their energy for. You could clearly tell. It's weird. It's weird to think, like, although I was gonna throw this out, but I'll get to what happens next, like, in the future, in a second. But the one thing I always find so weird, is that Rey Mysterio is the only person working full time that is on this show. Everyone else on this show is no longer working, is not involved in the business. Like, Eddie, of course, passed away, but he probably would be if he wasn't. But besides that, like, everyone else ain't even interested. No one else is even wrestling or anything. It's so insane to think about. Like, I know some work the indies, but like no one's working on a major scale except for Ray, and it's just insane to think about. What happens in the future? This would lead to Taker fighting Heidenreich in a casket match where Taker would win. JBL would move on to go for would take on Kurt Angle and the Big Show at the Royal Rumble, and I think a No Way Out he faces the Big Show in a barbed wire steel cage, both times surviving. And then he would go on to WrestleMania and lose the title to John Cena, which would be his first of many. But, yeah, a No Way Out, though, Eddie and Ray, after RVD got taken out by the Bashams, Eddie would end up teaming with Ray, going on to win the tag titles, and then go on to Mania, which have a single match of Ray, which would start their big feud going into almost most of 05. But that is my thoughts. That is nowhere to that's nowhere. Armageddon 2004. I apologize. Armageddon 2004. Overall show, I'd give it 4 out of 10. Like, aside the first 2 matches, everything else is just meh. Like, nothing really. There's no breakout matches. There's nothing interesting to watch. Like, those first 2 matches are like the only thing worth watching out of everything here. It's just not much of an interesting show. So, yeah, I wouldn't be. Except for that main event and that first match, I wouldn't personally recommend. Like, this isn't a must-watch show, except for those 2 matches, the only 2 ones I'd recommend people watch, because they're both really good. But that is my thoughts on Armageddon 2004. If there's any pay-per-views you would like me to review, please put them in the comments. Please like, please share, please subscribe. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you for the next review.